NOAA has just released its updated list of billion-dollar disasters for 2020, and its numbers are just staggering. Take a look at this and listen. Last year, more than 20 weather and climate events slammed our nation, in all costing $95 billion. Jim Cantori explores.
2020 was a year for the record books, especially when it comes to destructive, deadly, and costly natural disasters. $22 billion weather and climate disaster events occurred last year across the United States. This absolutely shatters the previous record of 16 events in 2017 and 2011. And they stretched from coast to coast. 13 severe weather events, 7 tropical cyclones, 1 expanding drought, and an unending wildfire season. 2 of the top 3 most expensive disasters last year, Hurricane Laura and the Midwest derecho. Let's start with Laura. This was a Category 4 hurricane, intensifying on landfall. Winds up to 150 miles an hour, so it was almost a 5. Storm surge went up to 17 feet along the Louisiana coast. Severely damaged electrical grids, broken water systems, complete infrastructure here. $19 billion total estimated costs. 42 people lost their lives. Now on to the derecho. This was a large derecho, 770-mile path stretching from Iowa to Ohio, producing winds over 100 miles an hour in many areas, especially Cedar Rapids. Widespread damage to homes, businesses, vehicles, and crops. $11 billion in estimated costs, and 4 people losing their lives. I recently had a chance to talk to Adam Smith, an applied climatologist from NOAA, about this year's billion-dollar disasters and his surprise at the record-smashing nature of this year's list.
I am surprised. 2020, in addition to COVID, was an extreme year of disasters. We had a record number of tropical cyclone events, a record number of severe storm events, and also the intensity and the damage were also very impactful. I don't think we'll have a year like this for a while to come.
So 2020, the 6th consecutive year in which we've had 10 or more billion-dollar or climate disasters that have impacted the United States. What do you think is causing this rise in events?
There are multiple factors that are causing the rise in these billion-dollar disasters. One, exposure. We have more people, more assets. We also have more vulnerability where we build, how we build, and climate change is playing an increasing role in the increasing frequency of these billion-dollar disasters. Drought and wildfire out west, vulnerability to hurricanes out east, also heavy extreme precipitation out east. All of those are on the rise and are influenced by climate change.
So link that for me, the climate change role in the rise of these disasters.
Since the year 2000, much of the western states, which are semi-arid anyway, have been in almost a persistent state of drought. And from that, we are seeing an increasing wildfire risk. Also, 3 of the last 4 years in California have set wildfire records. And there are all these linkages that amplify one another. And out east, with a warmer atmosphere, being a wetter atmosphere, can hold more water. We're seeing more extreme precipitation events across much of the east in the last several decades, and that's what the science shows us to expect more of in the future.
In terms of surprises, is there anything out of all these 22 that surprised you on the list?
I think that the derecho, being an $11 billion event damaging crops and infrastructure across many states, that is on par with the late April and late May 2011 tornado outbreaks across the southeast and central states. That's really a surprise. Also, the wildfires, again, 3 out of the last 4 years, California has had catastrophic wildfires. It's a bad trend. Of course, Oregon, Washington State, even Colorado had historic wildfires during 2020. And it's a trend that's just not going the right way.
Are there other areas that you're starting to look at where, you know what, either once every other year or, once every 3 years, there's going to be a billion-dollar disaster?
Most every part of the country is vulnerable to some type or combination of extreme events. We're just seeing that becoming more amplified for the reasons I mentioned before: exposure, vulnerability, and climate change. And so really it's the trends for cost, the trends for frequency, the variation of these extremes is increasing over space and time, it seems. And every year we're running out of adjectives on what to how to classify these extremes because we've seen so many.
Since 1980, the U.S. has seen $285 billion weather and climate disasters. The cumulative cost for these events exceeds $1.8 trillion.